Hi everyone, how's it going? Let me know if you can hear me okay, if everything is good and you can see me, just to double check that we're up and running. And if the volume is okay, everything's good? Yeah, perfect. Cool. So, today I have some feedback to give, but I might open for extra links. So start getting your Sync Sketch links ready because I might have some time afterwards. So let me share. So first we have Anush's pass exercise. Sorry, my brain is a little bit slow today. And I don't really have many notes on this, so I think we can call this done, especially because you're going to be working on something else right now. So I'd rather you focus on that because the reference that you chose is pretty complex. So I was checking out your reference. Wow, Sync Sketch is very slow today. And horses are really hard. And this is a very hard reference for sure because of everything that's happening when he falls, he slips, and it's hard to see what's happening with the feet. I mean, we can make it work, but it's gonna be a hard one for sure. So just be mindful of that. I think you mentioned something. Let me just double check because I think you mentioned something about this reference. Oh yeah, that some parts are not clear. Yeah, that's super annoying. If by any chance you can get another reference where you can see it from a lot of more sides, that would be ideal. But I know it's really hard, especially with horses. But if you can get at least, if not a reference that doesn't get blurry or that there's not that much going on in terms of um, the ground and dust and all of that, that would be best. Okay. If the community gave the reference and that's all you can do, then yeah, good luck. But what I would do basically is start with the body. Don't start with the legs because even though footfalls are important, at the beginning what you want to do is just make sure that the body works. If the body works, then the feet are gonna work. It's really hard to do something like this at the beginning because you try to measure, how far is it moving, how much should the body move in terms of the legs. So what I personally like to do is I like to block out at least some contacts of the feet, but I like to put the feet on FK so that I can estimate. So if I put the feet on FK, I can estimate more or less how much the body is moving according to where the legs are roughly going to be. Uh oh, yeah, I think if you're trying to post a link, I think we might have them blocked. I think Dan did something. So if you want to post it on Discord, the link, that would probably be better. Let me just send everyone all of our links. This is our Discord link. You can just post a link there because I think there's we're just trying to moderate this a little bit and I think links are blocked. I'm gonna check that later so that we can pre-approve links and then you can post any. But if not, just post the link there and you guys can join and see it there. So what I would do is first you would block out the body and you can even hide the legs and the head, and you would already block it in splines. I know that you mentioned that you had already done some walks and trots, I think, with some creatures, so you might know already how this works. But what I would do is first work on the body, and if next time you only have the body, that's more than okay, because I think that's going to take a long time to do anyway. and then you can work on the legs. The tricky thing is also because the camera is moving and is catching up to the horse. If you want to add that camera movement, just, yeah, double check that. Did you have any specific questions about the reference? Because if you can't change it, then yeah, we need to work with what we have. Okay. For the parts that you don't understand what's happening, what I would recommend is to try and figure them out before you start going into your animation. So even if it's just, for example, drawing what you see, so like there's something here, there's a leg, and it seems like the leg is there, and then it's there, like just drawing it over. Yeah, I know, right? Just to see and try to figure it out what's happening before it's happening, and analyzing also, like for example, how the chest bounces here and what's happening with the hips, trying to see as much as you can. And if you only analyze it by like drawing circles just to understand what's happening, that's more than okay. That's a good way also of tackling it. Things that you just need to be aware of, just in case you aren't. For the back legs, this bone and this bone is usually parallel unless there's something broken with the leg, or something really really weird happened. These ones are always parallel, so just make sure that when you block out the legs, you have that. If it makes you happier to do it in stepped, all of it, do it in stepped. I know that a lot of people prefer to block it in spline. When I was working with horses, it was a mix of everything, because for me, blocking in splines is not my favorite method. So, is it music feedback? What? I'm not sure what that means. But if it works for you to block out in step, feel free to do it as well. I know that the usual, like the best method to do shots with creatures is to just do it in splines so that you can see the motion, but whatever works for you. If you feedback music, no, we give feedback on animation. If it's music that you want to use in an animation shot, then yes, I can give you feedback on that. But if it's feedback on just music for the sake of music, I don't really know anything about music. I can tell you what I like, but this is more feedback on animation. If you're gonna use music for animation, sure, you can do that. Oh no, if Daniel blocked the links, how are you guys gonna send me Sync Sketch links on here? I need to figure how to set that up, and quickly. So yeah, if you do you have any other questions about this, or anything that you want to know maybe about how to tackle this shot? And in the meantime, I'm gonna message Dan. Okay, so if you don't have any other questions on this, I'm gonna go to you and look at this. I looked at it earlier, but I couldn't start giving notes, so cool. So I'm gonna look at it now. Cool. So just to understand, because it says blocking here, is it that you're blocking in splines, or is this your spline or your spline pass from your blocking? Okay. For me, my brain gets a little bit dead when I see spline blocking, just because I'm not that advanced, but I can still give you feedback, don't worry. And it seems that links are back on track, so if anyone has any links that they want me to look at after I look at the other shot, That'd be great. Yeah, so to answer this question before I start giving feedback, basically what we're doing for the first 12 weeks of this Twitch channel is we chose 9 students and we're mentoring them throughout this 12 weeks. After this 12 weeks, we are not sure if we're still going to do this type of program where we will choose some people and follow them along and then open for feedback at the end, or if we're going to just do open feedback. We're still deciding. We're going to see depending on how this goes, because it might be more useful for people to open it for everyone. We didn't pick at random. What we did was we opened on Instagram like registration, and people were sending us their reels, and out of, I think we had almost 20 applicants, we just chose 9, because if we chose too many, then it would have been really hard to keep up with that, because the streams would run for really, really long. So we chose 9, so we can do 3 per day, and we can give very, very detailed feedback instead of just 10 minutes because we don't have time. So we chose according to where we thought, like, where the students were, how could they benefit from this. So, and also because some of them we already knew them, so we trusted that they would keep up with feedback. So it was not really at random, but we opened it for everyone. For next time, we don't really know yet what we're gonna do. We might still do a feedback program with other 9 people, or we might just open for feedback. I think I'm gonna probably do a poll after, like, maybe on week 10 or so, and see what you guys prefer. If you guys want to have a feedback program, or if you'd rather we just open for feedback and do as many links as we can, depending on the day. So yeah, let's look at this. Cool. So I think the first part up to here, and I'm gonna comment on this just as you told me this is blocking, so I'm not gonna really give you detailed notes on the movement itself because this is blocking. So I'm expecting for you to push this more as you go into what would be your polish, because you're already blocking in spline. But in terms of what's happening, I would probably I kind of like what's happening in your reference, that the way she comes up is a little bit quicker, and there's a little bit more of an overshoot in the body and in the head. So I would maybe, let me see what would look good. Yeah, I would maybe just remove some frames from this. Right now it's happening in, it's like it's happening in around 6 to 7 frames. I would maybe do this in 4 frames and have like a nicer overshoot, just so that it's quicker and it's like and you can feel her excitement, because right now it's a little bit too slow. So we see her getting excited on the face, but not so much on the body. And there's something nice that's happening in your reference that I don't know if it was planned or not, but I kind of like it, that you have here a little bounce on your chest and body up. It would be maybe really cute if as she's doing this movement, all of this, she's like like yay, like very excited just at the beginning, like a few bounces, like getting excited. You can try it. It might not look good, but I would try it out quickly. Maybe you can just use the TY just to see if it works really quickly, and if not, you just delete that animation. I'm going to look first at the body, and then I'm going to go into the face. Just for anyone here who might be already trying to give feedback on the face, I like to be a little bit organized when I can, so yeah. For this, when you go into polish, just try to have her hand touching the bowl a little bit more, because right now it feels like she's just moving it with her fingers. It would be nice if we can actually see her grab it a little bit more. I think it's going to look nicer. I don't think you need to hold this that long. I understand why, but I think you're holding it maybe for a few too many frames. I would probably stop holding at around 156. I would already start going into this so that you hold this one and you have a different change in rhythm where it was all going fast until she tries to reach out, just to have a little bit of change. It's like, it's nice that it holds for a little bit, but right now she's holding maybe for a little bit too long, and she had already looked at it. So it's not that she's preparing herself so much, because she had already looked at it. I would actually hold it there. If Madison told you to do something different, then choose whichever you prefer, because this is more of a personal take rather than, no, this is how you do it in animation. I personally would not hold it as long here, like still hold it, but just for a little bit less long, and then hold this one. And then for this, like, because it's blocking, you can have it like this, but already for the next pass, I would try to add all of that arm movement and all the fingers moving and all of that. I personally like to add all of that in my blocking, because if usually it's more in my blocking plus, which is kind of what you have here, because on your blocking you can have your storytelling poses and your key poses, but then on your blocking plus is where you start adding all of that nice texture to the shot and you're telling more of the story. So I would start adding all of that information already. Sorry if you hear sounds from outside, because there's a police car or something going by. What I would do in this part, I'm just looking at it several times just to figure out what was exactly the note, because right now it feels like she's reaching for it, but she already knows that she's not going to actually get to it. So maybe what I would do is, in this first one, instead of reaching out and holding there, I would maybe reach out. Let's see if I can fit this into camera. I would reach out and kind of actually get her to try grabbing it, because right now she's just doing this. She's just trying to grab it. but she doesn't actually fully try. So maybe the first one can be just her trying to get it, and then, oh, thank you for the subscription. Really appreciate that. Hey, Brandon, you're amazing. So trying to grab it and actually even touching the table. So like she actually tried to grab it, and we see her even closing her, not closing her fist, but maybe her fingers, so that it's like the motion of her trying to grab either the plate or the pancake. Something again, so that we see also a little bit of a change in her motions, because right now in both of them she reaches out, but it feels like she already knows from the beginning that she's not going to actually grab the plate. So I would first one try it, and so that one is going might even be a little bit quicker. She might not even hold that much more. And if you don't hold that much more here, you could potentially hold here longer if you feel like everything is going too fast. But I think that all of this could be faster, and then this second one is the one where you hold. So the first one, she actually tries to grab it, she sees that she can't grab it, and then she reaches out. And when she reaches out again, if we look at where her head was here versus here, let me see if, oh, they changed. Where are things now? They changed everything here, and now I can't find. Where is ghosting? Is it here? No. Oh, because now you have to subscribe. Interesting. I'm trying to find ghosting. If anyone knows where they put it. Oh, here, they moved it a little bit to the side. Okay, here we go. Yeah, they've changed it. It's so frustrating. Especially, I used to be a web designer and developer, and this annoys me because why would you do it? It's unnecessary. But this is not a lesson in UX. Okay, so if we see where her head was, it used to be around here, and the second time it gets up to this. It doesn't feel like she really reached out. It doesn't feel like she moved that far. So I would actually try to get her a little bit more forward. Like her head would be here and her hands would be here. And again, if you need to move the plate a little bit more, that's okay. Just so that you have a really big difference from the first one here to this one, so that it really feels like there's a difference. And for this one, again, if you just do this thing of grabbing at the first time and like trying to grab it and she fails, her head might not be rotated that far back. Like right now, her rotation in X is very far back. You might not have it as far back because she didn't think that she was not going to reach it. So there might be even overlap, but she might not stay in that position for that long. She will, though, start staying in like a reaching out position more in this moment. And here you could potentially even start rotating her head back after a while. So when she's doing all of this, she can do she can start like this, and then she rotates back as she tries to push her arms further. And when she does this, you can even already when you keep kind of blocking splining, you can already start pushing her shoulders, moving a little bit more forward, so that we see, because right now it feels like she stays in this position and she's just doing this, but she could do this and then reach out a little bit more, so we see that change and we see all that tension. And again, add all of that noise and movement with the arms and the fingers already. personally, from 235 to 324, so let me just do around here when she grabs this. I think that all of this could be faster because it feels a little bit too slow and too soft, and you can keep that softness for the end. So if you leave it for the end, you can have a little bit more of a change in the rhythm for the shot, especially because here you were holding, so it's like a moment of breath in the shot. Okay, yeah, cool, no problem. So first part you meant like up to here, maybe like up to like 186. So for this, if I change this, cool. If I change this, let's say to 36. No, you could even make it faster. What if we do it 72? Not 72 might be too much. Maybe 48. So maybe this part, all of this, could be twice as fast of her grabbing it. And she's like, and then she grabs the pancake, and that's when it gets slow because she was trying to get it. She's going to hold there, which is really nice, and then this is faster. And she's like, yum, 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 yum. Yay, yay, yay. I like this. And then you get back to regular speed after she grabs it. So when she grabs it, you can get back to regular speed. So in terms of, because you were saying that for here, this is blocking. Okay, if this is spline, then definitely add more information to that movement, the one that you already have in your reference. And for this, again, this I would do faster. And I personally already tried to post the hands already in my blocking as close as the final version will be, just so that we have a little bit more nuance to the movement and a little bit more detail. So for example, here, when she lifts her hand, right now everything is lifting at the same time. All of the fingers are doing this. So like she's doing this to lift her hand. What if like some fingers lift before the other? Like maybe the index lifts before and then the pinky and then the other fingers, just so that you have a little bit of a symmetry and a little bit of maybe that hand looks more not careful, but like she's trying to get there. Yes, for sure. Feel free to post your sync sketch links here. I'll try to keep track of them all, just so that if I miss them, you can let me know, but I'll have time for more feedback after. So here, maybe it's like her index finger starts going there first. And like her finger starts going first, and then before she reaches the berry, open everything a little bit and then close. So you have the anticipation and then the close. Right now you have kind of the anticipation too early, and then it already starts closing too many frames before she actually grabs the berry, and we don't see it as much. If you start not as open and then open right before she grabs it and then in a few frames close it, it's going to read better. And be careful because the fingers are going through. And the same here with the hand pose. Right now, it feels like all the fingers are very parallel and in a very similar position. They're all kind of like this. I like to group fingers, kind of like they call it like the Disney type of hand posing. So you can have 3, 1, or 1, 2, 1, or 1, 3, or 2, 2, and then it tends to be a little bit more appealing. I think I posted it before, but let me just get it here again. There's this really nice website with a lot of hands that you can use for um, inspiration. Yeah, cool. Yeah, do a hand pass on all the shot and just make sure that it's always an interesting pose. A lot of people forget to pose the hands at the beginning. I personally think posing hands in blocking is very, very important because it tells a story. Like it's not the same if I'm saying, I don't know, uh what can I say? What do you mean versus what do you mean? Like this tension is not the same as this. This is going to be like what did you mean by that? It's not terrible. If I do this, I'm adding a lot of tension to what I'm saying. I'm I'm saying that this is upsetting me. I'm annoyed. It tells a story. So personally, I like to block out my hand poses from the start. It takes longer, but then it's actually easier because you don't have to do it at the end where you might potentially forget. So I recommend doing it from the start. And the same here. You need to kind of when you go into spline, because this was blocking. So again, I'm not going to comment too much on how she grabs it, but just make sure that there's a little bit more nuance to this movement and that your wrist doesn't completely stop there, because right now the wrist stops. But again, because this is blocking, this might be that you just had one pose and another, and then Maya is doing the in between. So just make sure that for your spline pass, you take care of that as well. For this, I wonder if what I would do is I would actually keep the elbows down. I think it's going to make it a little bit more appealing overall. And instead of her kind of doing this, what I would do is actually a change in maybe the line of action. So she goes, she eats it, and then she goes back. And maybe you can even keep it here instead of lowering it and her smiling. You can even cut the shot here. Like she just eats it. You don't need to keep adding more because you already had eating motion here. So it's not like you're adding something to the story that adds even to what you can do as an animator, or if that even adds to the story. I would just cut it when she's biting on this. But since this is where her arms are, and try to get maybe this hand to be here so that we can see that upper arm a little bit more. Yeah, removing frames always, it's like a really nice moment where you're like, oh, I can do less. Instead of 420 frames, taking out like 60 frames or 70 frames is really nice. It's a nice moment. Not 70, but 50 frames. It's a really nice thing. What you can do, maybe she goes like this. So when she comes up, instead of having this line of action, she actually reverses it, and she has this here and she's going to bite it, and then when she bites on it, that's when she relaxes into this. And she can even slump down a little bit so that she goes instead of forward. She goes a little bit backwards, but she still has that reverse C shape. So now let me look at the face for this. Again, I'm not going to comment as if it were polishing because you told me that this was spline. I think you can potentially push this eyelid a little bit more open to keep opening up the face a little bit more. And even her mouth could be a little bit more angled. And this eyebrow slightly big, higher. Right now her eyeline seems to be kind of there. I think you need to bring it down a little bit more. I think so. Just a tiny bit further down. And this is just so you know, when you go into polish, check all your blinks. Right now, your blinks are very even. Okay. Did you, because I think Madison left you notes on the face. Did you apply the notes that Madison left? Just so I know, because if you still have to apply Madison's notes on the face. Okay, cool. So just so you know, this, make sure that the way the eyes come down, they don't come down at the exact same time. So one will close faster than the other, but they will close at the exact same time. It's just the in-betweens that are a little bit offset. So if you didn't work so much on the face, I'm just gonna check it out to see if there's anything that stands out really like oh no, you need to change it. But if not, I'm gonna let you keep going so that you apply all the knowledge that you already have. I think you could potentially push this open a little bit more. I sometimes don't necessarily show the bottom teeth if I don't have to. Just because, well, okay. Sometimes it's not necessary to show them all the time. You could just show the tongue and that's okay. You can even push the eyes open way more here. And even the eyebrows, you can angle them a little bit more like this so that it's even more surprised. And then all around here, I would try to look for a more interesting face shape just because it feels a little bit neutral right now. I'm not really understanding what it is that's happening. Maybe she could, I don't know, do like, and like lick her. This is just a suggestion. I'm not saying do this, but like something that is showing a little bit more of what her internal mental process is at, like her thoughts at this moment. Just because it feels like a little bit of a neutral face until she gets to this. And once she gets into this, I maybe would try to bring this corner here a little bit higher, and maybe even this one a little bit higher. Like the inner eye corners a little bit higher. Where is my drawing? Oh, it's gone. Cool. Oh, why can't I see my drawing? Whatever. So this one. Here I would definitely hide those teeth. You don't need the bottom teeth showing. This is a much cleaner pose and much easier to read. What I would try though is to add a little bit more of a symmetry to the pose, maybe like slightly more. And I don't know what, like, I feel like maybe this eye, like, what's happening is that this eye is a little bit too angled. So maybe just bring that eye corner down a little bit so that it doesn't feel like there's such a big angle. And then for this, the same. Try to add a little bit more of a symmetry. Maybe this line is longer than the other. And as she's reaching here, maybe her eyes crunch up. And it's not that she's angry, but she has like this effort in her face. So she's like, "Ugh," rather than, because then you're not showing the effort with her face. It's just her body. So I would use it with her whole face. And then all around here, again, I would try to look for a less neutral face pose that tells us a little bit more. Does she have like happy eyes, like, oh my god, or is she wide-eyed because she can't believe that she's eating this? Try to think about what emotion is going through her head at this time. And if you want to get inspiration on movies, like a lot of times what I do is I look for movies with similar characters, like age-wise, and try to see how they express the emotions, just to see what I can get inspiration from and get ideas on how to pose the face. Yeah. I think that's all I have for you for now. I would like to see those changes first. Oh, well, you're going to show them to Madison first, but try to get as much information as you can, if even if it's going back to a few things on your reference, like all of this arm movement, and that is really, really nice. Or how, for example, here you're doing this, and then look at how it feels like at one point here you're even reaching out with this hand first, so this is moving before the other. I know that then you cut to this other reference, but for example here, when she does this, instead of just doing this up motion where the whole body is moving as a unit, what you can do is kind of do this and then rotate the body in, like, I think it would be RY, so that the shoulder ends up being here and maybe her head gets a little bit closer and this hand reaches first. So instead of moving everything together, you would first start moving the hand a little bit and then the shoulder, and everything moves with it, just to break up the motion a little bit and not making it feel like everything is moving as a unit. But yeah, again, I don't know exactly where it was that you were splining / blocking. So I would say keep going, apply these notes, and work on the face and the hands. Do a really, really nice pass on the face and the hands. And if you can show for next week a full spline pass so that none of it is in blocking and it's already spline, that'd be awesome, just so that we know exactly what type of notes to give you, just because it's spline blocking, so it's kind of I don't know which parts Maya did, which parts you did. But yeah, I think this is definitely going in the right direction, and I can see already an improvement from the first part. Are you liking how it's working out so far? Cool. Awesome. And let me just check if anyone has posted any links. If anyone has any Sync Sketch links they want me to look at, feel free to post them here. I think links are now working. Try to post them. So I don't know if Maya is already here. I'm gonna give you feedback anyway, Maya. I don't know if you're here. I don't think you're here yet, but no worries. You can watch this later. So Maya is starting a new shot, and she has a few audio options that she wants to run by me. I love audio feedback. It is super, super fun. So I hope you guys can hear. I think I have it set up. So I'm going to play this. Let me know if you guys can't hear the audio.
So, how was your day?
You know what? My day was boring. I'd rather hear about yours.
Okay.
So, how was your day?
You know what? My day was boring. I'd rather hear about yours.
So she's not currently in any class. I think she already graduated, I am, if I'm correct. So once you graduate AM, the sky is the limit in terms of audios, because as long as you have a good idea, there's usually no bad audios. There are like better audios than not. So I'm gonna give my notes on this, and for anyone who wants to post any links, feel free to post them in the chat. So what I like about this audio is that it's very broad, and it's not tying you to any specific thing. The only thing that worries me a little bit is the background noise. Like there's some shuffling going on there, and the music at the end, because this music is kind of ramping up and making it feel kind of not scary, but what's the word? Like something is going to happen and it's not going to be a nice, fun thing. So I think that this one is a good audio that I would consider for sure, but I would just be a little bit mindful of that audio because it might change the situation that you want to put this in. But again, what I like about this is that it's very broad. You can put them in any situation, and that's what works. So,
you know what? My day was boring. I'd rather hear about yours.
There's like a nice pause after he says, you know what? So you could have a lot of really nice acting moments with this, and you can place them in any situation. It could be, again, like here is like, oh, how was your day? It could be a couple that returned from work, or you can go crazy, and it could be that they are creating the next Frankenstein monster, and they are just talking about it, and he's like, oh, it's boring, but it's just he was doing weird things. Could be anything. So I think this one is a good one. Oh, it's okay. You don't need to write the dialogues. I mean, if I can't understand something, I'll let you know. So for this one, let me play it.
She's barely even talking to me. That's why I'm here, okay? Self-preservation. Big time. You know? Look, I know you gals have your ups and downs. I get it. But if you could do me this huge favor and just return her phone calls, you can yell at her. Just call her back.
I think you have two good options here. I don't know if you marked this here because you wanted to do this part or you wanted to do the other one. I think both parts separately could be good audios. I wouldn't use it fully just because it's almost 600 frames and that's way too long. You don't want to have a shot that is too long. you're not gonna have fun with it because you're gonna be worrying about the whole shot rather than actually working on the acting and the polishing and getting all the tiny things. So I would keep it as short as possible so that you can learn as much as you can from it. I think both are very interesting. I think that this one, what I like is this part because there's a change in how he says it. And this one has this nice moment where he kind of stumbles forwards, or he's like not stuttering, but repeating the word is a really nice thing. The only thing that would, like, maybe this one is a little bit tying you to calling someone, but again, you could potentially have fun with this. That's okay, no worry, no problem. I think both of these are good options.
She's barely even talking to me. That's why I'm here, okay? Self-preservation. Big time.
I think both are really good options. For this one, let me see.
I thought you were hoping for more children from me.
I am.
Why on earth would you do something like that to your hair?
What's wrong with it?
It's certainly very practical. And should you ever feel compelled to ride a motorcycle, it could always double as a helmet.
Personally, I'm not a very big fan. Let me just mark this. I'm not a very big fan of this audio because first, I feel like it's a little bit too long and there's not really a good payoff. The way that they talk is very flat, so you're not gonna get some nice ups and downs in the acting and the way that they say things. But also, I think it's tying you too much to this. So now whatever idea you do, it has to be tied to the hair. And yes, you can still use subtext for each of these sentences, but I think that the other audios that you have are a bit richer in terms of what you can do with them. So I personally, I'm not the biggest fan of this one. So I wouldn't use this.
It's funny, isn't it? How we draw that line. Well, what's legal, what's illegal. Who knows what will be legal next year?
So this one, I personally would not use it because as soon as I saw it, I recognized where it was from. And the first thing that I did was go into Google and be like, is this Breaking Bad? And it was. So what the problem with things that are very recognizable is that they might take away from your shot. And when people watch them, instead of watching your shot, they're going to be thinking who this actor is, where they saw this, and maybe if they remember the scene and it's one of their favorite scenes, they're going to be like, oh, this is not as good as what I remember, or this. So I would personally stay away from it. Also because since it's from Breaking Bad, it will, like, there's a big chance that other people have used it. I don't know where these are from. Maybe they're from very popular TV shows that I haven't watched, but this one is a very, very, very popular one, so I wouldn't.
All right, look, buddy. Let's face it. You know, you were dealt a shit hand, but sometimes your luck can change. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I started with a shit hand, and I ended up with a full house.
So, I would not use this audio because it has 2 swear words, and right in the middle of the phrase. Like for some recruiters in some studios, this will not look good. It would just not look good. It might not be very. It's not like a terrible swear word, but it is one. So I would not use it. Like, why would you risk kind of offending someone when you have other audio options?
You told me that after the operation I might expect some soreness. But you didn't tell me about this.
This one could be interesting, especially because of the pauses in the dialogue. There's some really nice moments there to really act out with the face or the body what the character is actually feeling. And what you could do is not think about the operation and not think about that he's necessarily talking to a doctor. Like, try to think of other scenarios in which this can happen, so that it's not just, oh, this person just got out of the hospital because they had an operation, and like maybe there's other things that you can play with. So maybe
You told me that after the operation I might expect.
maybe, I don't know, the operation is because they are robbing a bank. This is not a good idea, but I'm just telling you other things that could be. It's not that if you do this as a patient talking to a doctor is a bad thing. I'm not saying that. I'm just trying to see, can you push this and think about other ideas other than the typical one, especially because if the original audio is a patient talking to a doctor, then you run into the problem of, what if someone recognizes this and it's the same one? I've seen many shots that are really good. They're very well animated, but then you go and see the TV show or the movie and they're exactly the same. Exactly as they were in the original. And for me, that really annoys me, because I put a lot of work into my shots to make them different and to show a point of view and a different opinion. So for someone to just steal another person's idea, because basically it's stealing the idea from someone who created it for the show or the movie, I don't know, it feels a little bit lazy. So just try to, if you end up having like a doctor and a patient, try to think about maybe different setup, a different camera angle, different acting choices, so that you don't end up with the exact same thing. Okay, so hopefully when you watch this, everything made sense and it was helpful. I think you have really interesting choices. I think they're going to be useful. Just a few that I personally would not use. Okay, so next we have some other audios, and just let me join this and this. Okay, cool. Oh, and this is muted because I muted it. Cool.
Did you just fart? Was that a fart, Mom?
It was my shoe. I got new shoes. They sound like I'm farting.
Yeah.
You didn't hear?
So, just to know, is this for a specific class? Are you doing this on your own? For what type of thing are you looking to use this audio on? Okay, cool.
Did you just fart? Was that a fart, Mom?
It was my shoe. I got new shoes. They sound like I'm farting.
Yeah.
Okay.
You didn't hear?
Uh-uh.
He and Diana broke up.
They did?
Yeah.
Inside a year?
Shit, I just won $300.
I would not use this one because they say a swear word already.
That's cold.
Oh, please. He's a homicide detective and she's a human being. That shit don't last.
They say it twice.
Check
so.
this out. Paw prints. Check this out. Bloody cat prints.
I think our list of suspects just got a little longer.
He's an angel. He's just happy all the time. Morning, afternoon, middle of the night. 2 a.m., 3 a.m., all the a.m.s, really.
It's not that he's not fun. He is so fun. He's just not funny.
Don't use this one. It's very obvious where it's from. I'm first like marking the ones that I wouldn't use, and then I'll comment on the others.
Me. It's probably my fault because I laugh at all of his jokes with my mouth, not with my eyes.
Okay, dude, would you rather have $30 million or 30 million loyal friends? Easy, 30 million loyal friends. Why? I just ask each of them to give me $5 and they're loyal, so they'll give it to me. Then I'll have 150 million at that point.
There's been a murder, okay? And we think you did it. What did you just say? Do you remember the 21st night of September?
Wait, is this part of the same audio? Do you remember? Oh, yeah.
I'll have 150 million points.
There's been a murder, okay? And we think you did it. What did you just say? Do you remember the 21st night of September?
I mean, I love changes like this when something crazy happens. Yeah. I'm not sure if it necessarily works, but it's maybe with the idea it could be interesting, but I'm not sure it necessarily ties in, because maybe like for them to go into a song that says do you remember, like is the song going to be what happened in that night, or is it that she went into song because she heard the words do you remember and her brain went into that song? Depending on what you do, it could potentially work, but I'm not sure.
I have been trying to put my grandma in a nursing home for years now, and she just won't go. So I started gaslighting her.
Did you smell burning toast?
No, I don't. Sorry. See what?
Can you send me your reel just to see what it is that I know that I've seen it before, because I know that you sent it to us, but I don't remember it right now. Just to see exactly what your reel might be missing, what you could benefit more from. So let me just check them again.
Did you just fart? Was that a fart, Mom?
It was my shoe. I got new shoes. They sound like I'm farting.
Yeah.
So this one.
Did you just fart? Was that a fart, Mom?
It was my shoe. I got new shoes. They sound like I'm farting.
I feel like it's a little bit limiting. It's like there's not that much subtext going on. So acting will be more of a reacting rather than acting. So personally, I would not go with this one. Okay, let me look at your reel. Oh yeah, I remember the shot.
Properly, I am not paying $2,000. No, I will pay you at most $600 for the whole set.
Okay, you have that one. Okay, I'm not watching it all just because I remember it now, and I understand what you need.
Yeah.
You didn't hear? He and Diana broke up.
They did?
Oh, this one is the one? No. Yeah.
Oh, please, he's a homicide detective and she's a...
That's cool.
Oh, please, he's a homicide detective and she's a human being. That shit don't last.
Paw prints. Check this out. Bloody cat prints.
I think our list of suspects just got a little longer.
He's an angel.
Paw prints. Check this out. Bloody cat prints.
Again, this one doesn't really give you much in terms of what you can do with subtext, because considering that your reel, you need more acting. Right now, these audios that I'm saying no to are a bit more reacting, and so you're not going to show a lot of range. It would be nice if you could show a little bit more range rather than just doing something that the audio tells you to do.
I think our list of suspects just got a little longer.
He's an angel. He's just happy all the time. Morning, afternoon, middle of the night. 2 a.m., 3 a.m., all the a.m.s, really.
This one could be interesting. I would consider it.
He's just happy all the time. Morning, afternoon.
I think this one, you can play with the subtext quite a bit. Just make sure that whatever you do is nowhere near the original audio.
It's not that he's not.
This one I need to lower my own volume.
Okay, dude, would you rather have $30 million or 30 million loyal friends? Easy, 30 million loyal friends. Why? I just ask each of them to give me $5 and they're loyal, so they'll give it.
For this one, I think it could, like, this is like my maybe sign. It could work. It might be a little bit too long. Yeah, it's like it could work. There could be interesting things that you like where it's basically a where you place these characters that can be interesting. Like maybe they are at work and they work at Subway and they are making sandwiches, or maybe they are, I don't know, walking their dogs, or they are babysitting. So there could be something. It's not my favorite audio, and the audio is a little bit too loud at the beginning, so it's like, woo. But it could work.
Okay, and we think you did it.
Okay, this one I already talked about.
I have been trying to put my grandma in a nursing home for years now, and she just won't go. So I've started gaslighting her.
Do you smell burning toast?
No, I don't. Sorry.
Potentially with this one, I'm not a very big fan of the end because, again, it's telling you what to do. It's telling you, like, it's just like, oh, like I've been gaslighting her, and she says, do you smell burning toast? So she's clearly going to have to somehow burn toast and make it seem like it's not. So you're being given the acting choice, and I'm not a very big fan of that. However, what you could potentially do is use it from here to...
I have been trying to put my grandma in a nursing home for years now, and she just won't go. So
like, and she just won't go, and then you cut there. And again, this is a very complex shot, so I'm not saying do it. I'm just saying how you can potentially do it. It's like maybe she's luring the grandma with, I don't know, tea and biscuits placed in the ground, and she has to pick them up, or maybe she walked her there but the grandma got distracted and went somewhere else. Like it would be like a very quick montage of different scenes, like very quick ones where you can instantly see and understand what's happening, where the grandma is just not going. It's a very complex one. I'm not saying do this one. I'm just saying this is what I personally would do instead of using the rest, because the rest is very on the nose. And I'm not a very big fan of things like that. So yeah, those are my thoughts. Do you have any questions or anything about this? So yeah, it could be fun. Again, if you want to use that idea, feel free. If you want to do another, do whatever. But yeah, that's my main take on this. Cool. So next we have Alex. I know you. So do you want just feedback on your whole reel, as like what would I add or take, or do you want feedback on some shots? Yeah, no problem. Just to know what you're looking for. Oh, yeah. Sure. Let me remember.
You imagine being attracted to someone who was actually good for you. Like, me neither, but like, imagine.
Okay. Let me just finish the show. Okay. Did you have any other lip sync? Yeah. I think my notes were mostly on the second one. Sorry. But I'm gonna go over this one too. I love this rig. It's so beautiful. I'm so jealous of anyone who goes to anime school because of the rigs. Oh, I want them so bad. So this is more of a just preparing, but usually before we start talking, it's nice to see the mouth open, just so that it feels like the character is taking in some air to release. So just open the mouth a little bit before they start talking.
Being attracted to someone.
So here I already hear, again, this might be a scene sketch thing, so just double check with Maya, because it could be scene sketch just delaying the audio, but I already hear sound here. So by here, her mouth should start opening. And this is a very sharp already E sound, so her mouth should be 90% of the way there. And I would try to get a little bit more of an asymmetrical pose, because right now on both sides, it's exactly the same pose. So I would try to find ways in which you can find some asymmetry. Like the easiest way to begin with is if you have any squash and stretch control at the bottom, you can just change this so that she has a little bit of a line of action in the face, and maybe the mouth is a little bit more angled. Maybe when she's in that E, she has like a small sneer. And so instead of just being the mouth like this, there's something there. And again, same here. I feel like your pose is a little bit too symmetrical. So just try to find ways in which you can push the poses and push how, even if it's very, very subtle, and like her line of action here can change that way. Maybe instead of the apex of the mouth being in the middle, maybe it's a little bit sideways. And that already gives you some asymmetry. I hear the S all around here. When you hear the S, you need to show both set of teeth kind of touching each other. And here I hear the N, the tongue needs to go up. And again, what I said about the asymmetry, do it for the whole shot, because I'm not going to point it out again because I see it in several parts. So just do an asymmetry pass. It's not that all the time it has to be asymmetrical. You could potentially have some places where it's not necessarily, but it's more appealing if you can. Especially because if you see people talking, they're not very symmetrical when they talk. Even when it feels like it, they tend to favor maybe one side, favor another. There's this girl that I watch her videos, and whenever I pause it, let's say, oh, I need to go, I don't know, grab something in the kitchen, I pause her video and her mouth shapes are amazing. Like usually her O shapes are like super extreme, and I wouldn't have noticed if I didn't pause. Yeah, no, I totally get you. Like, for me, my first lip sync pass was such a struggle, so I totally get you.
Who's attracted to someone who was actually good for you.
And again, here I would open the mouth before speaking. I hear the ah already here. For the K sound, I would show both teeth. So the bottom teeth as well. Whenever you go into the ooze, I know you're doing it here, but I would hide the teeth here as well. And here again, if you can hide the teeth on that ooh, you can just push that ooh a little bit more out, and then that's gonna help.
Like me neither, but like, and
I personally love lip sync. I struggle so much when I first started. I can't even show you guys my first lip sync. It's really, really horrible. And it didn't make sense. It was super complicated. I had to reblock my lip sync 4 times in the same week because it just was not looking good. And now facial animation is my favorite thing. I personally really enjoy it. And then this is kind of connected, but maybe potentially you could connect even the nostrils a little bit more. And again, all of here, I would personally hide those bottom teeth. You don't need them all the time. Here, I would go like 80% of the way into that E. Oh, yeah, no, I mean, don't rush it. Learning lip sync is not as important as learning body mechanics. You need to understand how the body works before you go into everything else. Yeah, exactly what Dan is saying. A lot of people make the mistake of over enunciating. I can't speak today. Basically, posing every single shape for every single phoneme. And the way that we talk, like Dan was saying there, is we prepare our shape for the next word. So it's not the same if I'm saying moon than if I'm saying ma. If I'm saying ma, my M is going to be wider and it's going to be ready to go down. If I say moon, my M is going to be closer and it's going to purse more because it's getting ready for an U shape. So there's definitely a lot of things to think about when you're doing lip sync, and it sounds complicated, but it's actually way simpler than it seems. It's a typical less is more. You don't have to do as much as you think you need. MBPs, usually you keep them closed for 2 frames because if you're using motion blur, you might not see them, and usually when they happen too fast, you don't see them. So just make sure that your Bs are closed for 2 frames. And again, you don't need those bottom teeth. I feel like this could be wider for the E.
imagine.
Like she's saying kind of but it's kind of an E as well, so I would push it, and I would try to pose the teeth so that instead of seeing this part, you can pose them and shape them so that they are a little bit more appealing. Maybe something like this. And if you're going to go into a kind of an E, you need to show the bottom teeth as well. I hear the here. Again, no bottom teeth. And you can pose the tongue here so that it's also a little bit more appealing. I kind of hear the sh here. And then be mindful of your spacing as well.
Like me neither, but like, imagine.
Because right now what's happening is 2 things. Your upper teeth are moving. So right now I see that they are down to here and then they come up. And it's not that it's not that the head went up. Your upper teeth cannot move. You can move them as long as you hide the movement on a close. So if I say and then I go into an M, and then I go into a then I can change where the upper teeth are on the and the in that M. But never, ever, ever move the teeth while we can see it, because the teeth are attached to our skull. This one is the bottom one is different because they are attached to our jaw, and our jaw moves differently. Like it's attached here, so it's not with the rest of our skull. So avoid moving the teeth. Do not move them. And then just be careful because here she's closing her mouth, but her upper lip is also very static. You can potentially just lower the mouth, and as she closes it, everything comes up into this neutral. So like all of this can be lower, and then it just goes into this. Just you need to make sure that the mouth doesn't just hit a wall. And then, for example, here that the spacing doesn't suddenly in this bottom lip go up so quickly. You could have it here come down a little bit more, and in this one starts coming up, and so it eases into that. Let me go to the other one. Whoops.
You're gorgeous. You're gorgeous.
Make sure you do his lip sync too, even if it's just the jaw.
You're gorgeous.
Okay, let me look at her.
You're gorgeous. You're gorgeous.
I feel like I hear her sound coming out here, so you need to open that mouth earlier. And again, asymmetry. Okay, yeah, double check. But for this, again, asymmetry, do an asymmetry pass on all of your shots, because this is too symmetrical. And try to avoid this very round shape on both sides. It's a little bit too round, so I would try to pinch that corner a little bit. Potentially this one doesn't necessarily need to be. You could even push this mouth shape so that it comes in a little bit. And again, I would pose the teeth so that basically they are not parallel to the lips. They are not exactly the same as the lips. So you can potentially just shape them a little bit. And this is not necessarily the best shape, but just so that they are not exactly parallel to the upper lips. Same for this. This is a really fun mouth shape. This one too. But again, try to pose the teeth. And you can even push this one a little bit more. Personally, I like my O's and my U's a little bit more graphical. So instead of having this shape, which again is very symmetrical, what you can do is have this more like this. So it's a little bit more 2D style. I feel it's a little bit more appealing. And also for O's and U's, no teeth. Because O, U, you push your mouth forward. And when you push it forward, it hides the teeth because they are in darkness. I agree. I'm gonna finish this and I'm gonna talk about that because I agree. But because you were so eager, I was like, okay, I'm gonna talk about this after I finish this. So same here, no teeth.
No, that's crazy. No.
I kind of hear the S already here. Maybe I would push this down a little bit more.
No, that's crazy.
And then make sure that your mouth corners move in arcs. Right now, if I track this, and if I turn on ghosting a little bit more, it's not necessarily moving in an arc. I think you can push it much more. For the K, I wonder if you can slightly open the mouth a little bit. And I already hear, again, this might be Sing Sketch, but this for me feels like it should be like 70% of the way to the next pose. And I hear the E, but this doesn't feel so much like an E. I would push this and try to open the mouth a little bit to show a little bit of gap between the bottom and upper teeth. I kind of see it, but I think you can push the tongue to be a little bit more out and try to pose the teeth so that we don't see them here necessarily.
That ain't real.
I think you can open the mouth more here. And bring that tongue down here. And here I hear kind of like the N. So move the tongue up. And again, try to shape the teeth so that they are not so parallel. And they are a little bit more posed. THs are kind of tricky at first, but basically the easiest way is to first push it a lot and then tone it back. So for example, the way you push it is to stick out the tongue a lot and have the upper teeth bite on it. So it looks something like this. And then after you do that, you can rein it back. So sometimes if the lip sync is very quick, instead of it being here, you're going to have it here. And it's very, very subtle, but we still see it. For the R, make sure that the tongue is also up. I think here you can lower the tongue already and you can hide this bottom teeth. Again, TH, I'm not seeing it.
That's dumb. That's dumb.
She's saying that's dumb, right? So for these, the tongue needs to be up because the way that these are said are spoken in English, the tongue hits the roof of the mouth. Oh yeah, sure, no problem. I'm glad it was interesting. Cool, I'm glad. And here when you go that's dumb, you can even push so that the mouth goes that's dumb and it goes down and up so that it doesn't go that's dumb and it just stays there.
You're dumb.
And again here, this ooh, I would push it out in C depth. And I'm not going to comment on the same things that I commented before. Like if I mentioned the teeth, the like shaping the teeth and the asymmetry, stuff like that, I'm not going to comment through all of it because it would be a lot of repeating. Just take what I said in the first one and apply it all throughout because I think that it's a common thing that I'm seeing in some of your shapes. And again, it's not that it's a bad thing. It's how can we push it a little bit more so that we push the appeal a lot more. What I like to do is maybe even look at like Moana. Oh, the mouth shapes in Moana are so beautiful. Or if you want to go even crazier, Mitchell's versus the Machines. Crazy mouth shapes. Lovely mouth shapes, but crazy. I love them.
You're nice. You're nice.
Here I hear the ah, so this should be more open. Like it feels, maybe it's saying sketch, but it feels like you're opening it too late, and I would hide the teeth again.
You said that. You said for the holidays. You said for the holidays. I am. You said for the. You said for the holidays. You said for the holidays. I am.
I feel like
you said.
I feel like the F starts a little bit sooner. And I hear the eh around here. And be careful because your lower teeth are moving too much and I can see them moving. I would personally just hide them after when you open them. Just hide them. And I hear the S here. And again, for this, I would try to pinch this a little bit more. And I would try to put the tongue so that you can shape this nicely. And again, when you close, this can go up and down. The mouth can go up a little bit and then down. Oops. Yeah.
That's dumb. That's straight dumb. You're dumb. You're nice. You said for the holidays? I am.
I think holidays, the problem is that it feels a little bit too soft and too spliney. So I would try to sharpen the like and a little bit more so that the spacing is not so soft. But those are my main lip sync notes. Did that make sense? Was that helpful? And do you have any questions on this? I hope that made sense. Cool. Awesome. Good luck. Great. So before I go into this shot, there were a few questions here. Let me just go over them. So for Anush, I personally, if I were you, I would not do a creature shot. Because you were so excited about it and you wanted to join this challenge. If you want to do the challenge and you want to do it for fun, you can do it. I'm not your mom telling you what to do and what not to do. Hey Maya, I already reviewed your shots, so because we didn't have that much at the beginning. So if you want to, you can go enjoy the day, and then when the stream is over, I will just send you a link. So don't worry, I already reviewed all your audios. I already left also some like ticks and crosses, so if you want to see the ones that I liked and then watch the comments or hear the comments, that's cool. Yeah, no problem. So what was I talking about? Yeah. I personally prefer to be more comfortable with human characters before you move into creatures, just because creatures are very complex. If you want to do the challenge, I'm here for you. I will help you. If it were me, I would do an acting shot. I would first finish the body mechanics shot that you had at the beginning and finish putting in all of those notes, and then start with maybe a pantomime, and after a pantomime we can do an acting shot with dialogue, but I want to I want you to feel a little bit more comfortable with body mechanics and just a human character, and then move on to creatures. Honestly, I think it would suit you better even in the long run in terms of learning, because if you rush into creatures, yeah, I mean, you can do creatures, but then you're kind of pushing through a lot of really complex things when they could be easier if you just kept on working with humans. So if it were me, I would keep doing what we're doing, finish the body mechanics shot that you had, and then we can work on everything else. So a pantomime shot is basically, I don't know if I'm allowed, maybe if it's on YouTube, I can. So basically a pantomime shot is a shot where there's no dialogue, the character is not talking, and you are showing a change in emotion, attitude, something like that, just with the body. You should be able to have a character with no face and still be able to show the emotions in, say, like the line of action, the way that they change, the way that they move, the way that they go from one thing to the other. So that's kind of like the gist of pantomime. I'm not sure if we are allowed to show like things from Pixar here, because maybe there's like a copyright issue, so I don't want to necessarily mess with that. I'm not sure. I need to read the rule book of Twitch. But if you watch Inside Out, there's this really, really nice pantomime shot at the beginning. Let me just change this to just chatting, just so that I can go back to full screen. There's this really nice pantomime shot where at the beginning they are showing all of the emotions that Riley has. So I think it's when fear comes in. Riley is running really fun, really happy and having fun around the house, and she's like, yeah, like this. And then she sees the cord of the lamp, and she stops and very carefully tips, like she tiptoes over, and then she keeps running really happily. That's like the best pantomime shot, because suddenly you go from really, really happy to very careful, and you can see it in her body how it changes from very broad movements and very kind of crazy line of actions to a very contained one, very kind of a little bit more straight with maybe like a C curve, tiptoeing over very carefully, and the speed of the shot even changes because she was coming very fast and suddenly she slows down and then she speeds up again. So that's like a really nice pantomime shot because it also shows thought process. Like the best with pantomime is showing what the character is actually feeling and thinking at that moment without necessarily showing it in the face, showing it with the body. So that's I hope that made sense in terms of what pantomime is. So there was another question here. Or is it the same workflow you use for planning out acting shots? Yeah. So the work I for people who might be new here, also for anyone who's new, let me just share all of our links. So for I think it was last Thursday, I did a demo on how I quickly analyze reference in Maya, and I go over how to put it into Maya, how to scrub through and analyze, okay, what is the body move doing? What is where are my key poses? Where are my breakdowns? And what I usually do is I basically have everything in Maya, and then I turn my reference. I set a key on all my important things, and then I turn my reference into stepped, and I can easily see my blocking before I start blocking it. I just see it in the reference. So if anyone wants to watch that, just let me find the link and I will post it. It's half an hour, so it's not a very long demo. And I'm pretty sure that you guys can not necessarily watch all of it and still understand it. Hang on. Where are the videos? Hang on, because my brain is not very quick today, apparently. Okay, here we go. So here is the demo. And somebody was asking if that's the demo that, if that's the way that I do. Yeah, 100%. I would watch it even at 2x speed. If that's the same workflow that I use when I'm planning out my acting shots, yes and no. So yes, I always do this when it's a kind of stylized or realistic type of shot. If I'm doing something cartoony, no. I usually try to play a little bit with a bit of reference, a bit of drawing over. I suck at drawing. I'm very bad at it. But if I can kind of figure out what the motion has to do, I just draw it over, maybe with circles, trying to plan out the path from one place to the other. That's what I tend to do. I use reference just in terms of the general idea and general body mechanics. If it's a more stylized, let's say, I don't know, Frozen style, Tangle style, then I usually use that workflow because it's really helpful. But I need to have really good reference. If I don't have really good reference, I need to spend a little bit more time thinking about the poses, thinking about what expression change I want. So this is like my base start workflow. It's like what gets me 80% of the way there. The rest is just applying the knowledge and animation principles, basically. I hope that answered your question. So let me go back to sharing. So let me just see, what is this? This is blocking, you said. Is this, do you want feedback on everything, something in particular? Is there something that you're struggling with? In the meantime, let me play it.
Are you gonna miss your mom?
No.
No? Oh, don't cry. Are you?
Oh, I know this. Is this from that very cute kid?
Are you gonna miss?
Like, I feel like I've seen this before in terms of the reference that you might have used. My first advice, and this is gonna sound really bad, do you have another kid rig? Because this rig is not necessarily the most easy rig to use. It takes a very long time to make it appealing. There's like a few issues with the eyes in particular and the mouth shapes that you can get. If you're not tied to the rig, I know this sounds really, really harsh, but if you have another kit rig that is better, I would consider it. I know that Artem has a few really cute rigs. I think he released a kit rig recently. Yeah, I thought so. So is this just yeah, that one, but that one I think is paid. I think Artem's is free, so if you don't want to pay, potentially you could use the other one. In terms of what I would recommend for this shot, I think if you want to put this on your reel, it's a very tough thing because the reference is very, very, very easy. Let me find the rig that I'm telling you. Hang on. Let me just find it somewhere. Where is it? And I need to open it outside of the stream because Artem's website is a little bit risky and not necessarily kid approved. Where is it? Hang on. Gumroad. That's what I'm trying to find. So if I could open this link in a new tab, that would be way easier. Give me 1 second till I figure out how to open this in a new tab. Well, apparently I can't. So let me just open the picture and you can see it. So this is the rig that Artem did, and it's super, super cute. And the rig is amazing quality. So I would switch. If you're planning to do a kid that age, I would maybe switch to a rig like this. It's way more appealing. It's going to give you way better deformations, way better acting. So I would consider that. And let me just send the link to Artem's website here. In terms of the shot itself, if you want to put this on your reel, it's very tricky because the reference is very easy to recognize. Like, I feel like all of us knew exactly where it was from as soon as we saw it. Yeah, exactly.
Are you gonna miss your mom?
So if you want to put this on your reel, I think it's very tricky just because the expectations are very, very high. If this is just a test to learn, then that's okay because you don't necessarily. Oh yeah, the Amanda rig. That's why I didn't open his website while I'm sharing screen. Yeah, but the Amanda rig is amazing. It's just intense to show here. If this is just to learn, then that's different. What was your goal with the shot? Like, do you want to put this on your reel, or you don't care at all? Oops. What is that? Okay, I'll think about it and then let me know. I can potentially give you feedback outside of the stream if not. Because if you want to do something that's on your reel, and I feel like some animations are just for learning, and that's perfectly fine. But if you're gonna do something that's for learning and you're not gonna ever make it see the light of day, what you can do is do master studies, and then you study shots that other really good animators did, like something from, again, Tangle, Frozen, Pixar, whatever, Sony, whatever you like. And then if you want to put something on your reel, or if you want to at least try, I would shoot reference yourself. Instead of grabbing something that you saw that is very, very well known, I would try to find something that you are telling your own story and you are giving it your own emotions, because you could even use this same audio and have a completely different reaction with even a kid rig, and have a different reaction to the original one. Because I don't think most people remember necessarily this audio. They do remember the shot, because it's like this meme that we share for anything. Like, I sometimes share it at work. Something happens, I'm like, yes. It's like something like that. Or so I would just try to maybe find something a little bit more original. I know that maybe it's not the feedback that you were wanting to hear today, but I'm trying to help you in terms of your future. So yeah, just let me know what you want to do with it. Does anyone else have anything that they want me to review? And let me just switch. If anyone has any links or anything. Yeah, for sure. Questions are more than welcome. Oh, it's okay. Don't worry. Hey, Liv. If you want to show it, but next week I'm not gonna be here. I'm taking a holiday, so the next 2 weeks, Thursday streams are not gonna happen. I'm gonna move my people to Daniel's and Madison's streams just because I need a break. I need holidays. I will be here for the Saturday streams, but I won't be taking my computer with me because I need a holiday without my computer. So I won't be able to give feedback, but I will be on the Saturday ones because the upcoming guests are super cool. So while you type your question, oh, okay, cool. How if I cut from a music video on YouTube and put it to my shot without any lights? I'm not sure I am understanding the question. You mean, like if the music is licensed, how to avoid YouTube putting it down because of the license? If so, I'm not really sure. I've never run into that problem personally. I know that, for example, Twitch, I think YouTube does it automatically because I think it happened with one of Dan's shot that he was showing it. But it was more of a, you're not going to get monetization out of this. It wasn't that you couldn't upload it. Or is it something else? Yeah, again, I'm not sure if you necessarily need the license. I know that for YouTube, you can upload things with music from other things. You're just not going to get any money out of it. So if you are in like the creators program or whatever it's called on YouTube, you just don't get any money out of it. And you get a warning saying, hey, this is copyrighted material. You're not going to get any money. At least that's what happened to us on one of our streams. We had music from, I think it was a musical, and YouTube was like, you're not gonna get any money out of this, and we were like, we're not getting any money anyway, so okay. But it was allowed to show, so I think it's okay. If not, if it's for a reel, just upload it to Vimeo. Usually, yes, YouTube you can get more views, but if it's for a reel and it's for applying to jobs, Vimeo is more professional, and I never had any problems with that. Yeah, exactly. I think there's no problem. I don't think, like, again, if let's say you upload it, there's different types of copyright on YouTube. Some copyright, again, this is if you have a very successful YouTube channel with so many views that you're going to get money. If you get money, depending on the author of the audio, and I know this because I heard it from a YouTuber, there's like 3 different possibilities. One, every time that that video plays with that music, nothing happens and nobody cares. 2, part of the money that you get goes, there's actually 4 things. Part of the money that you get goes to the author and part to you. 3, every single penny that you make out of it goes to the author. 4, the author is like, take it down, and they force you to take it down. But actually, like, YouTube just takes it down. I've never had any problem, especially if it's for animation. I've never heard of anyone being like, oh no, YouTube didn't let me upload the video because of this. Usually it's more of, you're not going to get any money. So I personally would not worry. If this is for your reel and you're trying to apply to jobs, just use Vimeo. I've never heard of anyone having any problems with that. It does look more professional to use Vimeo rather than YouTube. And on Vimeo, you can even have one link for your reel and re-upload the video to Vimeo so that to that same link. So you don't even need to change your URL. Yeah, for sure. I do have time. So let me just... Yeah, no problem. I know that licensing is a bit tricky sometimes, but I don't think it's as complicated as we make it out to be. So anything I should know about this shot? And in the meantime, I'm gonna play it. And I forgot to share, so let me share. There we go. Cool. What stage are you in? Polishing, it says? Just to double check. Okay. Cool. Okay. So oh no, it's okay. My name or my last name? My heritage is a bit weird. So I have a few comments on overall the shot. Oh, okay. So my name, like I'm from Argentina. My name is technically Greek. None of my family is Greek, but Cynthia is a Greek name, or it's based on the Mount Kintos or Sintos. I don't know how you say it in Greek because I don't speak Greek. So sorry if I ruined your language, but my mom really loved that name. And my last name is from Lebanon because my great grandfather is from Lebanon. Can you see it in the melanin that I have in my face? Like my great grandfather was from Lebanon. He moved to Argentina many decades ago, and you could see like my grandfather, you could tell that his father was from Lebanon because of his face complexity. I don't know how to say it. His complexion was kind of very Arabic, and most of my other part of the family is from Europe. Oh, interesting. What's your name? Dude, everyone thinks this is something that super bothers me. And sorry, I'm gonna go back to your shot, but this is something that super bothers me. Not every Latino is Sofia Vergara. Not every Latino is tanned. A lot of people in my country, in Chile, in Uruguay, in Uruguay, yeah, in Paraguay sometimes, are white. Just because we look white, it doesn't mean we're not Latinos. Yeah, in Brazil too. So yeah, Argentina is south of South America, literally one of the last countries. And this bothers me a lot because when people talk about representation, I understand that skin color is incredibly important in terms of representation, but there's only one Latino representation. The rest of us don't exist, and I'm Latina. I speak Spanish. Most of my life was me living the hardships of being a Latina. Yet people don't care. And it's not that they don't care, it's just that there's only one representation that is valid. And that is hard because I went through a lot of things from being from Latin America. So people need to understand that the world is more mixed than they deemed it to be. There's a lot more colors in the world in every country. Every country has a million colors, and that's the beauty of it, that we're not just one thing. Because if not, that would be boring. So, yeah, that. this got into like a political issues thing. How do you know I speak Swedish? Well, I don't speak it anymore, but Oh, thank you. I really appreciate it because I know I have some Spanish accent when I speak, especially the later it gets, but I'm trying to get rid of it because I want to be really, really good at speaking in English. Just because of a goal of mine, I want people to not know where I'm from. Um, wow, you have no way, you're part Swedish. Oh, that's so cool. So I started learning Swedish because I thought it was a very interesting language. I actually wanted to learn Finnish, but I couldn't find any classes in my country. And so I was like, I want to learn maybe another Nordic language. So I thought Swedish looks fun. And I really loved it. I wish I could go back to it, but I need a group lesson, and right now with the pandemic, I'm not feeling very comfortable going and meeting in groups. Besides, everything in Europe starts in September. Oh my gosh, it's now September, so I should have probably signed up last month. Yeah. Oh, nice. Yeah, there's a lot of people. There's honestly, Argentina is packed with people from a lot of countries. There's people from everywhere. Like I have friends who were either born in China or their parents are from some part of Asia. Like some of my friends, her parents are Japanese. There's people from everywhere. Yeah. Cool. Awesome. I'm very happy to hear that. Yeah. I wish I could speak like a British person, but it's way easier to imitate the American accent. I don't like saying American because as an Argentinian, I take pride in saying I'm also from America because America is a continent. But it's way easier than British. British, you need to cut the words to precise, like very, very precisely, and I'm very bad at it. So for this shot, before I bore you with my life story, we can talk about my life story afterwards. What I would maybe try is first a few things in terms of the staging and how you present your shot. It's not that you need to change too much, it's just a little bit so that it reads better. Because the first time that I saw it, I honestly was so focused on him that I didn't understand why he suddenly got super scared. So what I would do is maybe instead of just having this open its wings, what I would do is have it drop and open its wings here. And then when well, maybe like around here. And then when he sees it, then he jumps back, just so that we get to actually understand why he was so scared. I'll answer that in a bit. Also, I feel like he gets scared, but he doesn't really see it. So he didn't really see it at any time. Like right now, it's literally above him, and it only spread its wings. So either his spidey senses are very, very good, or something happened. So maybe potentially what you could do, since he's gonna jump anyway, and you have kind of a little bit of movement that you can use sideways, maybe I'm thinking, maybe what if it actually is around here? So it's a little bit more here, and when he looks, he can actually look up. Like this thing maybe first drops, maybe very, very slowly, and then it quickly opens. Like it drops very, very slowly, and then he looks up, and as he looks up, that thing spreads its arms, and then he gets scared. So he can actually see it. So thank you, Dan, for taking that question, because whatever Dan says, trust him, basically. And for people who are new here, just so that you know, Dan is the one in charge of the Wednesday feedback sessions. He's really good. He's amazing. He is also basically leading our rig studio. Like, it's starting as a rig studio. We can talk about that later. So definitely, if you want to know about rigs, he knows his stuff. And maybe here, since you're in polishing, what I would do, yeah. Here it feels like he kind of hits a wall with his hips completely, and then he just completely stops. So, especially because this movement was so quick, I would potentially have him still keep going forward, even if it means that you have to get him on his tiptoes. And maybe I wouldn't curve his spine so much. I feel like here at the beginning, when he goes into this, you can curve actually his spine a little bit more here, so that he's kind of scooping down and up. Because right now he goes in from a very kind of straight to a curved. You could potentially curve him up and then down and then up. And that's also going to give you a nicer arc with the nose, because if we look at his arc right now, tracking the inexistent nose or non-existent nose. Where was it? Here. Things got changing the UI. See how it's very straight. You can, if you do that scooping, you can arc the nose a little bit more, and it's gonna have a nicer flow to that movement. Also, just here, because I know you're doing kind of a more cartoony thing, but I personally like to still maintain some, because it's half cartoony, half stylized. So I like to keep some of the animation kind of principles. So I would personally start this with this foot easing out of the ground and move this ever so slightly backwards already. Not a lot, but just a little bit, so that it's easing and it doesn't feel like it's just one thing that's moving. Especially because here your spacing is really big on the hips. So if you just start at least one frame of ease out, it would be nice. And then here I would bring this arm lower, just so that you push that line of action. Because right now it feels like it's flattening that line of action. And again, all around here, because you're already curving. And then maybe around here, he starts coming up. Even what I drew is not really great, because you can lower the head here much more. I swear this Sync Sketch thing is gonna drive me crazy. Okay. I hope that made sense. And then also track arcs. So for example, here what's happening, if we look at this arc, is that it's very, not so much of an arc, it's more of a coming and going in the exact same path. So what you can do is try to arc the path of that hand. And again, I personally prefer an ease out, especially if the hand is going to move that much. You can delay, you can choose basically what's leading the motion. Is the hand going to lead the motion, or are the hips going to lead the motion? So here, everything is moving. You could potentially have the body lead the movement, and if this is where the hand was, the hand is actually dragging a little bit. And then it starts going up. So there's a little bit of a delay. And then it can come down a little bit so that the arc is something like this. It goes up and then down, especially if you end up bringing it lower, as I pointed out here, all around this movement, the hand is going to be lower, which is going to help with that arc. I'm not sure. Is this kind of a, what's it called? Basically a light. Sorry, my English is not working today. A flashlight? Yeah, no problem. Is that a flashlight? Just to make sure if that is a flashlight or I'm just dreaming that it is and maybe it's something else. Yes, thank you. Even if it's not, it might not be or it might be. But another thing that I'm noticing here is if I look at the flashlight, I'm going to call it that even if it might not be, and the body, everything moves at the same time. So maybe over here, you could potentially, as it starts moving, because you already have it coming back. Cool. You already have it coming back. And again, I'm seeing this arc. I would try to arc it a little bit more, just because right now, if I turn this on and this million drawings, shouldn't have done that, it feels a little bit off because it's doing this type of arc. See how it's coming back and then quickly up and down. I would maybe, again, delay this so that it's staying a little bit closer to the initial position. That looked very bad. And then here, I would actually bring it down so that the arc just arcs up. And even here, maybe it's a little bit closer to the body. And then here, it starts coming up. So basically, it's going to do the opposite arc to the other hand. If the other hand did this type of arc, this one is going to do this. So the opposite way. It's going to come into the body and then forward. And then the same here. Just track your arcs. Because suddenly it stopped. See how it was coming forward and then it's just coming down. So it's doing this type of arc. So just make sure that if you're going to have it come forward and then down, it needs to do this type of arc rather than this. I think you can simplify this and even remove some frames. Like, I think you potentially could go for, like, keep this pose. So keep this pose. Maybe remove this pose. Go into this one. Remove this pose. No, actually keep this pose. You're going to need this one. I hate this in Sketch. Just removing some of, like, this one is a little bit much. And even this one could be already way closer to what you need. And this one could go lower. Just so that it's like the anticipation. He's just going lower and scrunching up, down, so that he can go up. I'm torn with this because technically he should fall around here because of where his hips are. He would just come down. But because this is cartoony, sometimes in cartoony we don't care. So I'm not sure if I care either. But it could also look nicer if he just dropped down and dropped here. Just so that you're not, again, ping-ponging from one position to the next, basically in the same position. So it's going to give you a little bit of a nicer feel. And then for this, I would personally close his eyes here and then open them very, very big here. And maybe here, keep the hand there. And then as the arms come up, both of the arms are coming up exactly at the same time, exactly moving the same amount. So just make sure that one of them drags a little bit more. So maybe this one doesn't move as quickly. It's just so that there's a little bit of an offset in how the arms move. Instead of both of them moving at the same time, one goes before and then the other. And here I would maybe lower this hand just so that we can see the lower part of the arm. And I like that you're doing this shaking, but it feels like you're only doing it with the hands. I would add that shake to the body and especially to the knee, like have the whole body shaking, not just the arms. Because even if I'm doing this, I can feel how my chest is moving with it. Even if it's not a lot, there's like a movement there. So I would definitely add a little bit of that shake to the rest of the body. And maybe, again, if you're doing this thing of, let's say you moved this thing here and it did this, maybe when it comes up, it goes off screen so that he's not bothered by it anymore and so that we also forget about it. Just so that, because what's stopping it from doing that again? So I would just get it off screen. And he could even, as it goes up, he could not just look at one direction, but be like, just to see if there's something else going on and not just in one direction, just to add a little bit of, what's the word? Texture to that movement. I think that all of this part, you're spending way too much time. You're spending like, how many frames? You're spending almost a full second with nothing. I would reduce that time. I would actually like have him like, oof, breathe out and then directly go into this instead, because you already spent time here. He doesn't really need to spend so long there. Yes, I do. I will go over that question in a little bit. Let me just copy it so that I don't forget it. And let me just see, was there any other, because the Rick question, Dan already answered it. Okay, if anyone has any other questions, let me know, and I'm saving them in my trusty good old notepad. And actually, like, as the hands are coming down, I would already have him look up and look at this. So that he's like, oh, and he already opens his eyes and starts looking at it. I'm not sure about this acting choice. Just because it feels like he's seeing it for the first time, but he's there to go for this. Like, he already knew about this, he's seen it before. So it feels like he's getting excited about something that he already knew. I feel like acting wise, I know that this is more of a body mechanics shot, but if you're already adding some pantomime to it, which this would basically count as pantomime, I would try to keep it a little bit more coherent in terms of the timeline of the character and what he's thinking about. Sorry, my something was bothering me. So here I would actually go from this directly to this without going through all of this. You don't need this personally. If you want to keep it, it's your shot, do whatever you want, but I feel like I've seen this type of thing in a lot of student shots where it feels like the characters suddenly forgot what they were doing just a few seconds ago. And also, if you remove that, you're removing a lot of your animation that you don't need. And if this is for a class and your mentor told you to do this, listen to your mentor. I'm not your mentor, I'm just someone giving you feedback. But personally, I would consider removing that and going from this straight to this pose. So like do like a nice cartoony transition and getting to this. And you don't even need to hold this that long. You can basically already go into this because he already knows this. He wants this. The goal of, like, that's the thing. What's his goal? His goal is to get that thing. He wants that thing. So what I would do is actually, instead of holding here, looking at it, because again, he already knows it. He already has seen it. Maybe this whole thing is a little bit slower because he knows that there's traps. He's seen them. So maybe he's a little bit more careful and all of that part is a little bit slower just so that he's like a little bit more like, is something going to happen? And then like you can have a really nice spacing change where it suddenly goes from tiny, like slow to book. And when he sees that nothing happens, he grabs it and keeps it up high, just so that there's a little bit more thought process behind his actions. So I would revise this personally and just try to find maybe a different way of getting there. Again, this is my personal opinion, but I think your shot could benefit a lot from changing the pace a little bit more there. I love it whenever I tell people to, remove some frames, everyone's like, yes, thank you. And then here again, both hands are coming up at the same time. Offset them. One gets there and one can even touch before the other so that it doesn't feel like both get there at the same time. So like this one can be dragging behind. And so this one touches it first and this one is still dragging behind. And it doesn't have to be like a lot, maybe like a 1 or 2 frame difference on when they get there. So for this part, I really love like the ending of how this goes back into place. I love how it's squashy it looks. But this part, I'm a bit confused by his reaction. But like, especially this, I'm not understanding. Like, is he looking at this? But then why would he be looking at it if he already knows that nothing is going to happen because nothing happened before and nothing happened when he grabbed it? So I feel like maybe you can play this a little bit differently, so that he grabs this. You can even push this pose a lot more, like get those straight lines there so that they are very, very pushed. Even this one, just so that it's a little bit stronger of a line of action and a pose. And then I have two potential ideas for this. Like, because the thing that's confusing me a little bit is this. He first stops and looks at this thing, I'm guessing, but that he knows that nothing happened. So it feels a little bit weird. He doesn't feel like he is cowering from it just in case, like, oh no, what's gonna happen? But then the thing that confused me a little bit more was this. He looks at this, he sees the hand, it's a scary hand, and instead of starting to run away, he just turns around. And he feels a little bit sad. He's more like, oh no. And he's just there. So he feels a little bit sad and not necessarily the reaction that one would think someone would have. Like, I feel like if I'm somewhere that I don't know and a hand comes out of nowhere, I'm going to be scared. I'm going to be scared senseless because how do I know that this is not going to kill me and like what is happening? So I have a few options for you in terms of what I would do with this, in terms of kind of acting choices and also body mechanics choices. Option one is he's here grabbing this and he turns around, maybe very kind of what's the word, with a lot of like a sense of pride, and he turns around. He can even like turn around one leg in the air. He has his thing and he starts walking away. He doesn't even see this. He's like, ha ha ha, I'm amazing. Look at me with my super cool gem. Like, oh yeah, this is amazing. What is this thing? And he doesn't see the hand. And he's walking away calmly because he thought, oh, there's no danger. I don't see any danger. I don't hear any danger. I'm just going to walk away like, ha ha ha, I got my gem. And as he's walking away, the hand does this and grabs him and gets him in. That's one option. Another option, if you want him to look at the thing, at the hand, maybe he's here and instead of doing this where he's like, oh, I don't know, you could have him kind of get scared, but scared and be like looking around, not necessarily at the thing at the top, but just having it here, kind of cradling it and just looking around. And then, like, first, maybe he looks first there, or he could do like a kind of like a double take. First, he looks screen right, then he looks screen left, then he looks screen right again. And when he looks at the end, he sees this, and you can go into another super cartoony take. You know when they kind of like jump and run in the air? So he's like, he goes from this to kind of, he's starting to get ready for the run, but he's kind of like, you know, when dogs run really fast, but they're not really running, they're staying in place. You could have that. So he's like, we feel that he wants to escape, and the thing just grabs him from the hat or wherever and pulls him in. So the ending is still the same, but there's a bit more of a, let's say, kind of thought process behind it. Because right now, for me, what's happening is he's like, oh no, and he just stays there and he stops there and it's just waiting for death. Which, if he were waiting for death, he could be like, fine, whatever, take me, I don't care. So those are my thoughts. Take them or leave them. Honestly, I'm not gonna be angry if you don't do them, because at the end of the day, this is your shot. This is just my recommendation from what I've seen from other students, and also what I've heard from mentors. So these are just my thoughts and opinions. Feel free to take them. Feel free to not take them, basically. Do you have any questions on this? Cool. Yeah, no problem. Does anyone have any I know I have a question here too, but if anyone has any shots that they want me to look at, I think I can look at one more if anyone wants. So yeah, I do have time for one more shot. And in the meantime, while you send me your Sing Sketch link, I had a question here. Do you use blend shapes to get more appealing poses if the rig itself doesn't have mesh sculpting controls? Yes, I do use blend shapes when the job allows it, because, for example, I've been already in 2 jobs where we couldn't use blend shapes. But if I'm doing a personal shot, yes. And let me just send you the video that I used as a demo for blend shapes. Let me look it up. Because it was a really useful thing. Where is it? There we go. So for blend shapes, this is the YouTube demo that I've used. It's very, very useful and clear. The only thing that you need to know that I don't think he covered in his video is that you can key your blend shapes, kind of like to turn them on and off, but you won't see them in the timeline. So just make sure that you keep track of where your blend shapes are, because it's very hard to see them basically anywhere. So just make sure you write it down somewhere where you use your blend shapes. And yes, I wish, I don't know if I have my shot pre-blend shapes. Just let me check, because I might have my classic shot pre-blend shapes and post-blend shapes, but I'm not sure. I don't think I have it. But basically I use blend shapes to tweak most of my shots from Animation Mentor. Sure. Let me close this too. Cool.
You are unapologetic, loud, black, femme. All the things I try to hide about myself when I go out into the real world. You are all of them. You are unapologetic, loud,
I feel like I'm going to give you just a general note, because since you're in splining, there's things that you are probably going to address in polishing. But I think that what's happening right now when I first saw the shot is that it feels like he never stops and lives in a specific moment or a specific pose. It feels like he flows from one pose to the other all the time, and he's constantly moving. So what I would try is, for example,
unapologetic.
here.
You are unapologetic.
Here, when he says unapologetic, maybe he gets into this. Like, all of this could be faster, and he could kind of hold the wig for a little bit longer and hold that pose. Just, you are unapologetically. Just so that he's there for a little bit longer. Because if you see this, he goes from moving this arm, he's already moving the other one. So he hasn't even finished one thought that he's already halfway through the other. And I mean, it doesn't mean that he always has to think one thing and then the other, but you're not letting us appreciate that moment. So I think that nice moment where he takes it off could be held for a little bit longer.
You are unapologetic.
And again, it would mean like this whole movement would be a little bit faster.
Loud, apologetic, loud, black, unapologetic, loud, apologetic.
And I don't think you need to get into this pose. Again, because I think that it depends. If this was supposed to be a key pose, then you need to get this arm a little bit earlier. Because right now what's happening is it felt like he was going to do this on the chair, but then he goes into his, like, touching his face. So if you want to do that, maybe when he's doing this, he already has his arm there. But I don't think you need it. You could potentially just keep it here. I do like this pose, kind of that feeling, but then I feel like he should already open with the arm there so that you don't spend so much time going to the face.
Loud, black, fanatic, loud, black, fanatic, loud, black, loud, unapologetic, loud, you are unapologetic, loud.
Here, I would tone down how far he moves forward here, just because it feels like
loud.
That movement back when he says loud, it feels a little bit too quick. So if you just tone down this line of action and he doesn't move that much, I think that's going to read better and is going to let us enjoy that acting moment. And also because it's kind of like after he's going into this, so it feels like he's moving too much doing this. So if you keep him more contained at the beginning, that's going to let you enjoy this moment a little bit more.
Loud, black.
And again, for this, when he says black, I would personally, I would get him to that pose by maybe this frame so that he holds there a little bit longer. Again, so it's like the transition would be a little bit faster into this pose, and he will hold that a little bit longer. Just so that, again, we can enjoy that moment. And it's a little bit snappier how he gets there. He's like, black, and gets there. And you can even push it so that here you can translate his whole head forward. When he says blah on the ah, you translate the head forward, and then you bring it back, and you can even ever so slightly scale it up just so that it's a bit of a punchier motion, especially because of how he says the word.
Black, femme. All the things I try to hide about myself when I'm loud. Black, femme. Black, femme. Black, femme. Femme. All the things I try to femme.
Here.
Black, femme. All the things I try to hide about fam.
Again, this is more of a personal choice, but
Fam.
when he says femme, maybe what I would do just to kind of break up the whole feeling of he's looking at the mirror super intently, always facing forward, he never changes his angle. What I would do is basically when he says femme, instead of saying femme and it's like this, he could be like femme, and he's like he's wiping it, because when you wipe out, like, I don't know if you've ever used makeup, but if you do, sometimes you're a little bit rougher than you need to, especially with lipstick, because I don't know, like the mouth can take a lot, so you can be rougher, and sometimes lipsticks they are hard to take out, so you can just have him be pushing, his head would rotate that way, and the cotton pad would do the other way, and you can only like potentially not even cover the whole mouth, but just cover the lower lip, so you can still read the but the will be halfway going one side and the other going, like the bottom lip going the other. And that's also going to give you, again, a nice moment where he breaks from that. He can still look at the mirror if you want, or he can scrunch up his face, because at this point,
Loud, black, femme. All the things I try.
he's like, when it's like the moment before he goes into the all the things I want to be, or something like that. So it could be that in this moment is when he's realizing that he's not what he wishes he could be. So like maybe he's like talking to the other part of himself, like let's say this is a drag queen or something like that. It could be that he's talking to his drag persona and he wants to be that person all the time, but he's not, because I don't know, society. And so he could already kind of close his eyes and do femme like this, and he's like scrunching his face, and you can see his pain before he goes into that. So there's like an anticipation to that emotion. Again, personal note, it doesn't mean that what you have is bad. It's more of a, how would I do it to break it up a little bit and to add a little bit of texture to that motion. Cool. Yeah, I don't wear lipstick if I can avoid it, because I hate it. But I remember playing with my mom's when I was a kid, and when you take it out, it was like bleh, like you were never necessarily very dainty about it.
All the things I try to hide about myself when I go out into the real world.
Yeah, I can play the whole animation.
You are unapologetic, loud, black, femme. All the things I try to hide about myself when I go out into the real world. You are all of them. You are all the things I try to hide about myself when I go out into the real world. You are all of them. All the things I try to hide about myself when I go out into the real world.
I wonder that username did it. I don't know how to say mjosha. So I wonder if here,
all the things I try to hide about myself when I go out into the real world.
Maybe because I feel like he's going from like this really soul crushing moment, and he's already ripping out his eyelash. So
all the things I try to hide about myself when I go out into the real world. You are all of them. You.
Again, I don't want to like destroy your shot, but this is just a thought. and again, if you're currently in a specific class and your mentor told you to do something else, don't listen to me. This is just a thought that I have. Just again, I'm trying to think about the tender moments and the rest of the moments. So
all the things I try to hide about myself.
So instead of ripping out his eyelash here, I would potentially save that to the end, like before he says "you are." So he would be like, and he would like rip it out and "you are," just because I think that you could gain a little bit from not having it here. But again, this is just a thought. If you have time to play with it, I would consider it. But if not,
all the things I try to hide about myself when I go out into the real world.
If not, what I would do, if you don't want to change where it is, I would keep him here. I would still keep him here and rip out the eyelash here, like all the way to the world. And then when he goes, that's when he moves up. Just so that, again, we're there with him in that moment.
Things I try to hide about myself when I go out into the real world.
Again, those are two options. If you want to keep it, it's not that it's bad. It's just that I thought maybe later on could work as well. But definitely, if not, I would just keep him and just have him do it closer to the mirror.
Into the real world. You are all of them. Go out into the real world. You are all of them. You are unapologetic, loud. You are unapologetic.
And here, I wonder if he could be a little bit more towards camera so that he's looking at himself like this, let's say from his very good angle, and then he goes like, you are, and like he's like, you are, just to have a little bit of, again, a change in the angle.
You are unapologetic, loud, black, femme. All the things I try to hide about myself when I go out into the real world. All the things I try to hide about myself when I go out into the real world. All the things I try to hide about myself. All the things I try to hide about myself when I. All the things I try to hide about myself. All the things I try to hide about myself.
I don't know if you need this RZ rotation here. Like maybe at the most at an RY, like he's saying no rather than RC. Just because it feels a little bit more like he's mocking it rather than
unapologetic,
frustrated.
Loud, black.
And then I would try to pose the hands a little bit more. So I think I posted it before, but just let me post it again in case you weren't here. There's this really nice website with a lot of cool like hand pose inspiration. So this right now feels maybe a little bit too flat. So maybe he could like have like the finger, and maybe this is a little bit more like that, but then this finger is separated. Just a little bit of asymmetry. Because you have nice hand poses in other places, so I think it's just making sure that it happens at all times. Like even here, this could be a little bit more dainty. So instead of grabbing it like this, he could grab it like this instead of this. Just adding a tiny bit of, again, this is an exaggeration, but a little bit of asymmetry to those poses.
black femme. All the things I try to hide myself will go out into the real world. You are all of them. You are unapologetic, loud, black femme. Unapologetic, black femme. They're gonna go out into the real world. You are all of them. You are all of them. You are all of them. You are all of them.
I would reduce how much this hand comes back up because it was a little bit distracting when I saw it. And I wanted to focus on his face, but I was focusing on his hand. So maybe I would reduce that overshoot and not have it come back up so much. Just so that it's not distracting.
You are unapologetic, loud, black femme. All the things I try to hide about myself when I go out into the real world. You are all of them.
Yeah, I think those are my main notes. I would say keep on splining and just make sure that you're pushing everything. You're pushing your, for example, your poses a little bit so that you have the line of action on the face and things like that. But I don't want to give you too much notes already on lip sync and things like that because you might still work on them and flesh them out. But yeah, do you have any questions on this? Sorry, I need to check because one of my flatmates is moving. Cool. Yeah, no problem. I'm glad. So I don't have time for another shot, but does anyone have any questions? Did I reply to this? Yes. Does anyone have any questions or anything that they want to know? Because I have maybe 10 to 15 minutes. That's why I don't want to do a shot because it might take a little bit longer. And just let me check because I have a flatmate moving in. Yeah. If no one has any questions, just let me know. And I will. Oh, thank you. I'm so happy to be taking holidays and having a break. Cool. Thank you. Yeah, no problem. So for anyone who may not be aware, let me just share all of our links. And also tomorrow at 1 p.m. PST, we have Madison giving feedback. And then Saturday, 1 p.m. PST, we have Sean Lee, ex-Disney animator, now Pixar animator, joining us. So send us your questions on Instagram, Discord, whatever you prefer. Send us your questions. We have a lot already, but if they are good questions, we will bump them up the list and ask them first so that we make sure that he answers them. Anything that you want to know. He already has a lot of questions about like, oh, how did you get into Disney? How did you get into Pixar? So if you have any other questions, feel free to send them. He's also the creator of Kyosho, or I don't know how to pronounce it because I don't speak that language. The animation mentorship, and let me share it here already for anyone who might be interested. So if anyone has any questions about that, feel free to ask them on Discord. Yeah, exactly. I think I know part of his story of how he got into animation, and it's interesting. Like a lot of people think like, oh no, if I don't get into Disney from the start, I'll never get there. And I think it took him a lot of applications to get there. So it's just keep trying and keep going. Yeah. So never give up. Basically, that's the main lesson I think that you will take away from the stream. So Saturday, 1 p.m. PST. If you follow us on Instagram, we're posting the schedule there all the time. Even on the same day, we post when it's gonna be live. So feel free to check it there. Does anyone have any last minute questions before I go? And could be anything about anything. If not, I'm gonna end it here. Thank you everyone for coming, for hearing me talk about random things and also give feedback. I hope it helped. I hope it wasn't super messy and you still understand it. And yeah, have a great rest of the weekend. See you all on Saturday. Yeah, good night. Cool. Have a good one. Bye. See ya.